AITA for not letting my sister know my baby's name? I, 38F, pregnant with my first, and probably only, child. My sister, 36F, is also pregnant, but this is her third child, and this baby comes several years after her last child, who is 8 years old. I struggled with fertility problems for many years. I haven't been able to get pregnant since I was 24. We underwent numerous tests, but no clear reason for this was ever found. We tried everything from taking breaks to fertility medication. And finally, last year, we went through IVF, which was successful for us. My husband and I had a boy and a girl name chosen from pretty much the time we started trying for a baby. These were names we promised to use whenever we had a baby, and we had planned to have at least 2 children. Those names stayed the names throughout everything. But when my sister was pregnant with her first child, she and her husband struggled to agree on a name. She mentioned how lucky we were to have agreed. Then when her daughter was born, she decided to use the girl name my husband and I had chosen. And she confessed that is how the name was decided on. She said her husband liked our chosen name, and she didn't think it was bad, so she decided it would be better for them to use it so their baby could have a name. She told me not to look upset, because admittedly I got emotional when she said this, and told me at least the name would be used. Then when her son was born, she used the name we had chosen for the same reason, they couldn't agree on another name. This did strain our relationship, and I was and still am hurt that she was so dismissive of my feelings and so blunt about what they did. She implied pretty strongly that she expected I would never have children to use the name for. Then a couple of years after her son was born, she made the comment that we agreed so easily we could find another name if it worked, implying that we could not / should not use the names anymore. We ended up mixing our boy choice and our girl choice for this baby. Both had a unisex name in them, and we decided, since we loved all 4 names, mixing them wasn't a huge change. My sister won't like this. But honestly, we don't see each other much anymore. She only reached out more now because we're both pregnant at the same time, and she has asked repeatedly about the name we have chosen. I have refused to tell her. But my 2 brothers know. They thought I should have used the original name as intended and give our sister the middle finger. But they also understand why we chose to mix them. She sent me a very pissy text a few nights ago, saying I'm being so petty and these babies should grow up close together and we should be working on our relationship, and instead I am excluding her and making a point of saying I don't want her to know anything. Wibda if I gave my parents an ultimatum? This has been a challenging situation. To preface, I am the only girl of my 4 siblings. I, 27, have 2 older brothers, 39 and 35, and 1 younger, 26. My dad is a pastor, so we grew up in a pretty religious household, which I still value. I love my brothers and I love my parents, however, there are a ton of double standards, and I have recently been calling them out. For instance, my oldest brother and his now wife got pregnant before they were married. My parents, although shocked, were thrilled and offered anything my brother may need to help their situation. My dad officiated their wedding like nothing was wrong. My other older brother bought a house with and moved in with his then girlfriend, now wife. They needed some help with the down payment, and my parents stepped in and gave them a few $1,000s to help them, no strings attached. My younger brother is a straight-up mess, his words. He has struggled in the past with drugs, self-hatred, and things that go along with that. He has been in and out of rehab, therapy, and has lived with almost every girlfriend he has ever had. My parents get upset but hardly bat an eye. I started dating the love of my life about a year ago. I was not a big dater in high school or college, so when things got serious with him it was a huge deal. He and I have seriously talked about marriage and kids, and he is the first relationship I have actually felt comfortable in. He and I made the decision to move in with each other about 6 months ago. We told his parents, our brothers, cousins, friends, and they are all extremely happy for us. I had been avoiding telling my parents for obvious reasons. My mom and dad knew I was moving, they just did not know where. My mom came over to help me pack the other day, and out of nowhere she said, "Honey, I need to tell you that we love your boyfriend, but I am unhappy with your decision, it grieves God." I said I understood, but I am an adult and can make my own decisions. She said she understood that but said she needed to voice that. She also said that, "I want to do the mom thing and help you decorate and see the house, but I just can't under the circumstances." I asked her if she meant she would never come to my house even if I invited her, and she just looked at me and shrugged like, who knows? That really hurt me. It almost feels like selective religiousness. I have been struggling with this for some time, even before the moving in part. I really want to sit down with my parents and ask them, is this petty feud worth a relationship with me and my boyfriend that they claim to love so much? Would I be an a-hole if I asked them to try and compartmentalize their feelings like they did with my brothers, or should I keep my distance? My friend said he wanted to get with my sister. AITA for telling him the truth? My 21M friend, 20M, keeps complaining over and over again about the fact that no girls ever look at him and how he's never dated or been with a girl ever. Last night we were out, and he started telling me about how he has a crush on my younger 19F sister, and he wasn't polite about it either. He told me about how he wants to get with my sister, in very graphic detail. And I obviously got angry and yelled at him. I told him that the reason no girl will ever look at him is the fact he's unhealthy, doesn't take care of himself, and sees women as nothing except objects. After that, he started crying and went home. Was I the one in the wrong for telling him the harsh truth after what he said about my sister? AITA for missing my niece's 18th birthday because my children are the only kids excluded? My sister doesn't particularly like two of my children. They are 8 and 10, have autism, and are high energy, but they are great kids. I don't just say that because they are mine, they are exceptional students, excel in their musical/sport hobbies, and are well liked by everyone. No one else in the family has an issue with them, and we recently attended a formal sit-down dinner and dance for my grandmother's 80th birthday, with zero issues. When they were younger, I refused to set them up for failure, and avoided fancy restaurants or other places not appropriate for high-energy kiddos. So we did miss my sister's 40th, as I had newly separated from my husband, had a newborn via cesarean, and wasn't sure that I could cope with the kids in that setting, but was reliant on others to drive us there, so couldn't just leave if needed, plus it was a per-head buffet and would have been a waste to leave before eating. I believe she is still salty about that, 6 years later. There will be other children at this party, around 20 of them ranging from 11 down to newborn. My nieces invited me, and then my sister changed dates, so it's no longer on my kid-free weekend. She then contacted me saying, "You will have to get a babysitter for those too." My other children are invited, 19/13/6 yo. They are renting a hall, cooking a barbecue dinner, and having a local band play, so it's very family-friendly. I've booked a holiday overseas instead for myself and the kids, and we will be there instead. I'll send the girls some cash as presents, and they are both moving to the city where I now live for university next year, so I'll help them move and fill their pantries as a housewarming gift, which I did for my oldest child as well. Now my sister is complaining that I'm going on holiday rather than the party. So AITA for not taking some of my children to the party and getting a babysitter for two of them? AITA for issuing a warning to my maternal relatives that they can be uninvited from my wedding at any time? I 28 am, getting married next year. I am 100% no contact with my mother and have been for the past 10 years, and I have not lived in her house in 12 years. Yes, at 16 I was living somewhere other than with her. That no contact is not changing for anything, and yes, she has attempted to reach out and make amends in that time, but I am not interested and have continued to keep all points of contact between us closed. This includes the family on her side I do talk to, mainly her parents. 2 of her siblings and their 5 kids, aka my cousins. I talk to them because they were there for me. The reason for the estrangement? I don't like who she became after my dad died. I was 8 when he passed and 9 when my mom suddenly announced that all photos of Dad, all of his clothes and possessions and anything to do with him were being boxed up and sent to his parents because she wanted us to move on from Dad, and she wanted to be married again, and she didn't want her new husband to be uncomfortable seeing her dead husband's face everywhere, and she wanted me to like and love whoever she married and didn't want me to cling to a dead man who was not coming back and was no longer part of our lives. She refused to let me have a photo or 2 for my room and told me she would not fight with me and had already fought with his parents because they were outraged. She wanted to throw all of his stuff and photos in the trash. From that day on, my mom was cold toward me if I even attempted to bring up my dad. She did remarry. She had 3, possibly more after I left. I had more kids. She married a man who was bitter that I wouldn't call him dad, refused to change my last name to his, and accept him adopting me. My mother was furious with me for stopping the adoption. They had spent thousands on a lawyer who they felt would be able to push it through regardless of my feelings. When I moved out at 16, I spent 2 weeks with maternal grandparents before going to my paternal grandparents, and the relatives I mentioned above continued being supporting and understanding even after I left the state. But now that has changed. They brought up inviting my mother and her family to my wedding several times, and I told them nothing had changed for me. They would try to make persuasive arguments as to why I should invite her and let her be there for this day. I got a little firmer with them, and then they changed course and said that I should invite her other children with them so we can have a relationship. I refused that too. Then they brought up how important it is to invite my mother. Which is when I told them if they bring it up again or try anything to get her there, they can be uninvited. I told them I would make them leave on the day if I had to. They told me there was no reason to be so harsh toward them. AITA? AITA for telling anyone who asks why I don't bake for our hall anymore? Hi. I really like baking as a hobby. I don't believe in food waste, but I don't often want to eat all the stuff I make. The best way I can describe it is that I love to bake, but when it comes to eating I'm just like, meh. I'm not sure how to describe it. Anyways, I normally give my baked goods to friends and family. The tradition we have started when my brother said he couldn't come over to pick up a coconut cupcake pan because he's busy. I didn't plan for space in my fridge to keep the cupcake and awkwardly left them in the apartment's common room, with permission from the security guard of course. I left a note saying the cupcakes were free to whoever with my apartment number on it. The security guard said I had to. That started this semi-tradition of me putting whatever extra goods I have on a free table in the lobby area. Others started to do it a little too. It has worked well so far. I like the environment it has created. Problem came: one of the neighbors knocked on my door. She introduced herself, said she's from another apartment floor, and that she, in a visibly upset way, was very unhappy with me leaving unattended food out. One of her kids, allergic to peanuts, had some of my peanut butter brownies. I got very nervous hearing this and apologized. She said it was fine but wanted me to pay part of the cost of getting her child help. I asked if we could talk it out and she agreed. I agreed to pay for the cab she took back and forth to the hospital, which I know if getting off easy for what happened. I apologized again and she said all was fine but to please be extra careful. Since then I don't leave any food out at all because that situation made me nervous. I know it wasn't the worst that could have happened, but still. My hall neighbor, let's call her Lily, asked if I was okay, noticing that it's been a while since I put anything out. I just told her that after what happened with the peanut butter allergy issue, I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore in case something like that happened again. Now, I didn't know Lily knew who I was talking about just based on saying the allergy issue. Specifically, they knew which kid I was talking about because they saw him take some. I guess Lily spread the word around because I got a knock from the lady again and she asked why I told everyone to blame her. I explained that I did not blame or tell anyone to blame her in any way. One of our neighbors asked why the tradition died off and I only said because of the allergy incident, but I never mentioned specifics like who it was / how they looked, etc. She's mad and says I did that purposefully and will be speaking to the landlord to make a report. I apologized again and said I swear I did not mean for this to happen, but she stormed off. I'm not exactly sure what to do. No. I don't hold anything against her or the kid and I'm pretty mad at Lily for this stunt right now. AITA.